The crimson skies of Ixiart Prime were torn asunder by the roaring engines of the Relkaros invasion fleet. The once tranquil world of the Ixiarts, a telepathic bipedal feline race, had been plunged into chaos by the persistent onslaught of the invaders. The Relkaros, an advanced marsupial race with an obsession for conquest, had long coveted the telepathic abilities of the Ixiarts. To them, these powers represented a threat to their dominance, and so they had devised the ultimate weapon, the Flanks virus. The Flanks virus was a masterpiece of biological warfare designed specifically to attack and disable the neural pathways associated with telepathy. It spread rapidly, its effects devastating to the Ixiarts. In a matter of weeks, entire cities fell silent as their inhabitants lost their mental powers, leaving them vulnerable to the advancing Relkaros armies. High above the planet's surface, aboard the flagship Magnarok, Supreme Commander Kaldros of the Relkaros military surveyed the carnage below with satisfaction. His species had always prided itself on its technological prowess, and the Flanks virus was the culmination of their superiority. "Transmit the order," Kaldros commanded, his voice a low, guttural growl. "Begin the final assault on the Ixiart free tribes. They won't stand a chance now that their telepathy is crippled." The communications officer nodded and relayed the order to the ground forces. The Relkaros armies, bolstered by heavily armored vehicles and mechanized exosuits, began their descent onto the surface. The plan was simple: overwhelm the last remnants of Ixiart resistance and claim the planet for the Relkaros. But as the invasion force neared the largest of the free tribe settlements, something unexpected happened. Their sensors picked up a new presence on the battlefield, one that had not been anticipated in any of their plans. "Commander, we're detecting non-Ixiart forces in the area," reported the tactical officer, his tone tinged with confusion. "Non-Ixiart? Who could possibly be aiding them?" Kaldros demanded. "Humans, sir," the officer replied. "It seems a regiment of human marines is defending the Ixiart settlement." Kaldros scowled. He had heard of these strange evolved primates called humans, an upstart species from a distant star system who had only recently joined the galactic stage. They were known for their unpredictable nature and unorthodox strategies, but what were they doing here, on Ixiart Prime? "Order them to stand down," Kaldros barked. "This is a Relkaros matter. They have no place in this conflict." The message was sent, and for a brief moment, there was silence. But then, a reply crackled through the comms, the voice calm and firm. "Relkaros forces, this is Captain Adrian Cole of the Human Marine Corps. You are ordered to withdraw from Ixiart Prime immediately. Failure to comply will result in defensive action." Kaldros's eyes narrowed in anger. "How dare they?" he hissed. "Prepare the virus. If they want to protect these cats, then they'll share their fate." The order was given, and the Flanks virus was unleashed upon the humans. Relkaros warships released clouds of the virulent agent into the atmosphere, where it quickly spread across the battlefield. The Relkaros soldiers watched with anticipation, expecting to see the humans falter as the Ixiarts had before them. But as the minutes passed, nothing happened. The humans continued to fight with the same ferocity, their combat prowess undiminished. The virus seemed to have no effect on them at all. Kaldros's confidence began to waver. "Why aren't they affected?" he demanded, turning to his science officer. The officer, a nervous Relkaros with a talent for bioengineering, checked his instruments. "It appears, sir, that the humans are immune to the Flanks virus. Their physiology does not possess the same neural structures that the virus targets in telepathic species." "Impossible," Kaldros growled. "How could we have missed this?" "It was never tested on humans, sir," the science officer replied, his voice trembling. "We had no reason to believe they would be immune." Kaldros clenched his fists in frustration. "No matter, we will crush them with brute force. Deploy all units. Do not allow those primates to interfere with our plans." On the ground, Captain Cole led her Marines with ruthless efficiency. The Relkaros, though technologically advanced, were unprepared for the raw determination and tactical prowess of the human soldiers. The Marines moved with precision, using advanced weapons and armor to decimate the Relkaros forces. "These bastards thought they'd walk all over us," Cole muttered as she took cover behind a fallen tree, her pulse rifle aimed at a group of advancing Relkaros soldiers. "But they're about to learn what happens when you mess with Earth." The Relkaros soldiers found themselves in a nightmare. The humans were ruthless, their strategies unconventional and unpredictable. They used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and ambushes that decimated entire squads. Despite their advanced armor and weaponry, the Relkaros were outmatched. But the true terror came not from the weapons of the humans, but from their presence on the battlefield. The Relkaros had expected to face broken, demoralized foes, the usual outcome of deploying the flanks virus. Instead, they faced an enemy that fought with an almost supernatural drive. Every time the Relkaros thought they had gained the upper hand, the humans adapted, countering with even more ferocity. In the chaos of battle, Kaldros received reports from his commanders, each more dire than the last. The humans were pushing back their forces, capturing key positions, and disrupting supply lines. The virus had failed, and their invasion was crumbling. Kaldros realized with a sinking feeling that the Relkaros had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the humans, just as they had underestimated the Ixiarts. As the battle raged on, the Relkaros found themselves on the retreat. The human marines, having gained the upper hand, began a systematic campaign to push the invaders off the planet. The Ixiart free tribes, inspired by the human resistance, joined the fight with renewed vigor, using their remaining telepathic abilities to coordinate strikes against the Relkaros. The Relkaros forces were in disarray. Their plans for a swift and decisive victory had unraveled, and now they faced the humiliating prospect of defeat at the hands of a species they had barely considered a threat. "Commander, we can't hold the line," one of Kaldros's officers reported, his voice laced with panic. "The humans are everywhere, and the Ixiarts are launching counterattacks. We need to retreat." Kaldros's mind raced. Retreat was unthinkable, a dishonor that would tarnish the Relkaros's reputation for generations. But as he looked at the battle reports, he realized there was no other option. "Order a full withdrawal," Kaldros said through gritted teeth. "We'll regroup and return with greater force. This isn't over." But even as the Relkaros began to pull back, the human marines moved to cut off their escape routes. Captain Cole's forces, having captured several key positions, launched a coordinated offensive to encircle the retreating Relkaros. "We're not letting them get away that easily," Cole said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Push forward. We need to capture their leaders." The Relkaros forces, now in full retreat, found themselves trapped. Their attempts to break through the human lines were met with devastating counterattacks. One by one, their escape routes were sealed off, and soon the Relkaros were surrounded. In the center of the encirclement, Kaldros realized the extent of his failure. His fleet was crippled, his forces were decimated, and now he and his commanders were at the mercy of the very species they had sought to crush. The humans did not slaughter them as Kaldros had feared. Instead, they methodically captured the Relkaros leaders, securing them in heavily fortified holding cells. The remaining Relkaros soldiers, disarmed and defeated, were taken as prisoners of war. Kaldros, now a prisoner, was brought before Captain Cole and her senior officers. The once proud commander was a shadow of his former self, his confidence shattered by the relentless assault of the human marines. "You had your chance to leave," Cole said, her voice cold. "But you chose to unleash your virus on us. You thought you could wipe out an entire species and claim this world for yourselves. Now you're going to fix what you've done." Kaldros looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and fear. We never developed a cure," he admitted. "The flanks virus was designed as a weapon, not as something to be undone." "Then you'd better start working on one," Cole replied, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. "Because if you don't, we will make sure the Relkaros pay for every Ixiart life lost, and we won't stop until your entire civilization feels the consequences." Kaldros's heart sank. The humans were serious, and he knew that their threat was not an idle one. The human alliance, with its growing influence and military might, had the power to cripple the Relkaros economy through trade sanctions and diplomatic pressure. If the other races in the galaxy were convinced to join the humans in their cause, the Relkaros would be isolated, their once great empire reduced to a shadow of its former self. "We will do as you ask," Kaldros said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We will develop a cure for the virus, and we will offer reparations to the Ixiarts for the harm we've caused." Cole nodded, satisfied with his submission. "Good, because if you fail, there won't be a place in this galaxy where the Relkaros can hide from us. Remember that." Under the supervision of human scientists, the Relkaros were forced to work tirelessly to develop a cure for the Flanks virus. The process was slow and arduous, but with the combined knowledge of both species, progress was made. Within months, a treatment was developed that could reverse the effects of the virus, restoring the Ixiarts' telepathic abilities. The Ixiarts, though weakened by the invasion, were grateful to the humans for their intervention. As the cure was distributed across Ixiart Prime, the surviving tribes began to rebuild their shattered civilization, with the humans providing aid and support where needed. The Relkaros, for their part, were forced to offer significant reparations to the Ixiarts. Their economy, already strained by the costs of the failed invasion, suffered further as they paid tribute to the feline race they had once sought to eradicate. But the true cost of the conflict was not in credits or resources. The Relkaros' reputation had been tarnished, their once feared military reduced to a mere shadow of its former glory. The galaxy had witnessed their defeat at the hands of the humans, and the message was clear. The Relkaros were no longer the dominant force they had once been. As for the humans, their actions on Ixiart Prime only solidified their growing influence in the galaxy. The victory over the Relkaros was a testament to their resilience, their adaptability, and their unwavering sense of justice. They had not only defended a species in need, but had also held their enemies accountable for their actions. Years after the conflict on Ixiart Prime, the galaxy had changed. The Relkaros, once a proud and arrogant race, had been humbled. The Ixiarts, with the support of the Human Alliance, had begun to reclaim their place among the stars. On Earth, Captain Adrian Cole was celebrated as a hero. Her leadership during the conflict had not only saved countless lives, but had also demonstrated the strength and resolve of the human race. The victory at Ixiart Prime became a symbol of humanity's commitment to justice and their willingness to stand against tyranny, no matter the odds. In the grand halls of the Human Alliance headquarters, a new era of cooperation and mutual respect was forged between the races of the galaxy. The humans, once seen as a young and inexperienced species, were now recognized as a force to be reckoned with, defenders of the weak and champions of freedom. And so, the galaxy moved forward, forever changed by the events on Ixiart Prime. The Relkaros learned that true power was not in the ability to conquer, but in the ability to build and protect. The Ixiarts learned that even in their darkest hour, there were those willing to stand with them. And the humans, the strange and evolved primates from a distant star system, showed the galaxy that they were more than just survivors. They were the guardians of a new future. The battle had been won, but the war for the soul of the galaxy was just beginning, and the humans would be there, ready to fight for what was right, no matter the cost.